Hello and welcome back to the Eyes of O Gaming channel for another game review. So the next game up is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. This one released in 2024, being published by Bethesda and developed by Machine Games. This combination of publisher and dev were actually the same team behind the modern Wolfenstein series, which we've actually covered all those games on the channel. The New Order, The Old Blood, New Colossus, and Youngblood. But what about Indiana Jones? Did this one end up being a hit or miss? Well, let's take a look together so we can help you to answer the most important question asked in this review series. Is this one worth it for you? Let's get into it. So the prologue of this game will have the player take on the role of Indiana Jones as we play through a scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark. After the introduction is over, we head to Marshall College, where a break-in and theft kicks off the game proper. The game is set in 1937 and will take place between the events of Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is the first film, and The Last Crusade, which is the third film in the series. The game itself, aside from the prologue, is an original story, so it's not like you're just playing through one of the movies. Of course, it's all going to play out very similar to the movies, and at least to me, the story feels so similar to the movies that it feels like it could have been an Indiana Jones movie and adapted for a game. In other words, expect a very conventional Indiana Jones experience. This isn't going to be flipping things on its head or anything, it's Indiana Jones. So after the theft that happens, Jones is going to head to the Vatican to try to get some answers as to what happened. If we consider the time period, this is just before the war, however the Italian fascists will be present all over Italy when Jones arrives. The game is going to play out as a mystery of sorts, where Indy will look for answers which lead to more questions. These questions are going to lead to traveling to another location, and inevitably the cycle just keeps repeating. So as a result of this, you're going to be traveling to a number of different locations in different parts of the world, while trying to uncover the secret of the Great Circle. Along the way, Indy is going to meet and team up with Gina Lombardi, who's also looking for answers that are related to Jones' own mystery, and the pair will travel and explore some zones together. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is a first-person action-adventure game. This one is going to feel highly cinematic as you play through, and there are a lot of cutscenes throughout. But even just the way the game plays out, it feels more cinematic than some other types of games. So I'm just going to come right out and get this over with right away. Combat is extremely easy in this game. The main thing you're going to be doing in the beginning of the game is relying completely on stealth. The game is going to make use of a lot of environmental or improvised weapons. So what this means is that as you're walking through and exploring zones, you're inevitably going to come across guards on patrol. There's also going to be a ton of stuff lying around though, like brooms, hammers, pans, whatever. Anyway, Indy can pick these things up and use them to knock out guards. If that fails, you're going to go into a brawler style of combat with punches and blocks. Now, obviously what I'm about to say is totally player dependent for the experience, but as a fairly mediocre player myself, I found that the brawler combat is extremely easy, so take that as you will. As the game continues, you may also want to use firearms. You have Indy's revolver, but there's also going to be rifles and others that you find along the way. Indy's whip can also be used in combat, either to disarm enemies or scare off dogs. Outside of combat, the whip is also used for climbing and crossing gaps. Overall, the game is going to be told via a linear story progression. However, you will have open world zones to explore as you complete the story, allowing for exploration, finding collectibles, and completing side quests. These side quests are either going to be found as you play or given by NPCs. As the game continues on, you're going to move to different zones, and these are located in different parts of the world, which will change up the environment and enemy soldiers. Though, for the most part, enemies are mostly going to behave the exact same way regardless who they are. You're also going to find adventure books in various zones, which will offer new skills in combat, traversal, and carrying skills, as well as marking locations for other collectibles on the map. After finding these adventure books, you need to use adventure points to unlock the related skill. Adventure points are basically experience and are gained from a variety of tasks, such as taking photos in designated spots, completing side quests and mysteries, and helping certain people. The game loop essentially consists of heading to a zone for a quest, completing some very Indiana Jones style puzzles. Think things like ancient mechanisms or observation-based riddles, taking pictures of specific things and making notes in the journal. And then all of this is compiled in a cutscene, which then progresses the story along. So I mentioned the journal, and this is essentially where any notes or relevant photos go, and you can actually reference back to them as you play through. While you're exploring locations or solving the puzzles, you're going to need to get past guards, either by using disguises in specific locations, or else stealth, melee, and firearms as more of a fallback if everything else fails. We've got a bunch of comparison games for this one, but I'll try to narrow it down a bit. Starting off, we'll get some of the most obvious ones out of the way, and we'll begin with the Uncharted series. Both games are going to have you traveling all over the world, visiting many different environments, solving puzzles, and infusing a good amount of history and fantastical reimaginings of history. Looking at the differences between these, Uncharted is a third-person game and focuses on platforming and has many shootouts. The Great Circle is first person, leans more into the immersion rather than platforming, and shootouts are going to be rare if you're playing in what seems to be the intended way. Next up, we have another archaeology-focused game that everybody probably thinks of, the Tomb Raider franchise. Really, this is going to have much of the same reasons as the last one, traveling around, exploring ancient areas, and solving puzzles. Tomb Raider games tend to have a little less focus on the shootouts than Uncharted, and more of a stealth element, but it's certainly still much higher than what Indiana Jones is going to have. Looking at the newer trilogy of games, we also have a darker, more survival-driven story, whereas The Great Circle is pulpy with the same kind of humor from the movies. If we put this on a bit of a spectrum of action to stealth and immersion, we basically see that Uncharted and Indiana Jones are going to be at opposite ends, with Tomb Raider somewhere in the middle. Another game which I have already covered is Deadfall Adventures. This one sort of gives off a B-movie vibe of Indiana Jones, but it does have some similarities in terms of setting and environments. Again, Deadfall is more of a shooter with a lot more direct supernatural confrontation, so there's certainly going to be some differences. Lastly, in case you've never played any of these archaeology-style games but still want some kind of a comparison, but still a game that I've covered on the channel so you can look it up, we can see some similarities with Hellblade 2. This one is going to be my stretch comparison, as it's not directly as similar as the others, but it still has some overall features that are comparable. The big aspect that these games have in common is the cinematic nature, the transitions between cutscenes and gameplay, and extremely easy combat. Also, the immersive storytelling experience. I think that's about all I want to do for comparisons. I know that there's a bunch of others that we could look at, and please feel free to add your own in the comments that you think are similar and explain why. So the most obvious thing in this game, and likely the reason that you'd have any interest in it, is that it's Indiana Jones. I get that that's going to be pretty on the nose, but seriously, that's most likely why 99% of the people that are interested in this game are interested in it. So if you were wondering what else aside from that, or if you're the 1% who has no idea who Indiana Jones is and just saw this interesting looking archaeology-focused game, what's setting it apart from the others? The camera and journal system do seem to be fairly unique. It has been done to a point in other games, but it's still not that common of a thing. You're going to take photos of important things and they get added to the journal for reference later on. And you can also take photos of puzzles for hints from Indy as well. So if you have no idea who Indiana Jones is, the pulp-style adventure is also going to have a very unique feel in this game. If you compare this to something like Tomb Raider, which is more of a survival and emotional adventure, Indiana Jones is going to lean into that banter between characters and the pulpy style of mystery. On the technical side, I didn't really run into any major issues with the game, mostly just some graphical weirdness. There are a couple of times when NPCs will get stuck in the environment, but for the most part, everything behaved as it should. Of course, this doesn't guarantee that there's going to be no issues for you. It was just my own experience, but I always like to share it. This game really focuses hard on the graphics and sound. In terms of graphics, we have a very cinematic feeling experience. There's also going to be numerous cutscenes throughout. As you progress through the main story, you're going to have a wide variety of environments in the game, with travel to different locations and biomes all over the world. As a personal aside, I really feel like the graphics and sound are where this game shines. Graphics and locations look straight out of an Indiana Jones movie, and the voice acting is done exceptionally well. The dialogue and writing all feels very similar to what you'd expect from the franchise. Also, I want to do a really big shout out to Troy Baker, who does the voice acting for Indy, and for the most part, he sounds almost perfect. There are a couple of spots where if you listen closely, you can tell it's someone else, but his portrayal really helps with the immersion of feeling like you're playing through an authentic Indiana Jones experience. In other words, it sounds like it is Harrison Ford rather than someone pretending to be Harrison Ford. As always though, don't take my opinion as the definitive answer. Use the game footage in the video to see if the graphics work for you, and I'll also play some examples of what you can expect in terms of sound and dialogue.
Give me the whip.
No, Miguel, I don't. No time to argue.
Give me the whip.
Adios, senor.
You know how to handle a gun? No problem.
Perfetto, Indy. You should have become a man of the cloth.
I found another calling.
Come on, let's go. Dr. Jones, are you okay?
Just great. Found the first trial.
It's closing again. What are you doing?
What do you think? Trying to get out of here.
So, time for everybody's favorite part of the video, my subjective disclaimer. Basically, if you're new to the channel, I've tried to stay objective through most of the review up to this point. I know there's a couple parts where I put my own opinion in, but I try to just show you what the game is so that you can decide for yourself. Now, I'm just going to give totally my own opinion. This is completely subjective. It doesn't mean whether I like the game or not that you will or won't, so don't use this to determine if you should give it a try. It's just for fun. It's just so that I can share my own opinion. Also, don't expect a number rating or some stars or something like that, because I don't do it. I think it's ridiculous. Everybody likes different things, and we're all just trying to have fun here. And so the final question, and the part that a lot of people just skip to anyway, did I enjoy Indiana Jones and the Great Circle? Yeah, if it wasn't already evident, I thought this was a great game. I like the Indiana Jones movies, so I'm probably going to be biased here. But I'm also going to guess that if you're interested in the game, you probably at least don't hate the movies. If you are a fan, the great thing about this is that it is very true to the source material, and the story here feels like a natural fit in the Indiana Jones franchise. I actually like the cinematic feel for this one, as considering this is a jump from movies to games, it really makes sense. This might not be everyone's favorite style, especially if you're more of a hardcore gamer. But if you don't mind games that can go for more of a casual side of things, it really does work for what they're going for. So the nice thing with all of this is that even though there's a lot in terms of cinematic and cutscenes, it doesn't feel like they're giving a subpar gaming experience. I tend to find that with most games it's either gameplay or story and style, and in this one I felt like they hit gold with both. Now, don't get me wrong, the gameplay in this one is extremely easy and definitely has that casual experience feel. I didn't once feel like any zone was overly difficult, and I think I only died in one zone, and that had a lot of firearms involved. The stealth is also very easy when compared to other stealth games, and the combat is fairly simplistic. The most challenging aspect is probably going to be the puzzles, but they aren't that difficult. Honestly, they really feel like pulpy indie-style puzzles, which was great for me. Whether or not the gameplay is really easy, the most important thing for me is that it's fun. I honestly don't care if a game is easy or hard, as long as it feels fun, and this one managed to pull it off. There's also going to be quite a few different collectibles in the game, and typically I never go for this kind of thing. Sometimes I start off trying to find things, but I usually get disinterested and just give up. In this one, I actually felt compelled to collect things. Usually they're going to be tied to some sort of puzzle, or short side adventure, or searching some ancient structure. The really great thing is that it all feels very much like you're playing out adventurer indie. Maybe not what you see in the movies, but what you fill in mentally as the backstory of what makes him the character he is. The upgrade system all feels pretty natural. You're not going to become a superpowered living god like in some games, but it does definitely improve your abilities and make you more resilient as the game progresses and throws more challenges at you. So you've probably guessed by now, but I would highly recommend this game, if you get the chance. If you like Indiana Jones movies, this one feels like a direct port of what could have been an Indiana Jones movie into a game, but offers a previously untold story. If you like adventure games like the ones that I mentioned, say Uncharted, Tomb Raider, or yes, even Deadfall Adventures, this one really does have that similar fantasy archaeology vibe. Overall, it's going to be a great experience in my opinion, but with that said, I hope you enjoyed this look at Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. If you already played through this game, please let me know down in the comments if you agreed or disagreed with my own opinion. And if you found that video helpful or entertaining, please give it a like and also consider subscribing to the channel. I post a bunch of different gaming content, not just reviews like this, but also walkthroughs and other gaming stuff. And I'd love to have you join the community and help direct the future of the channel. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch today. And until next time, take care.
Give me the whip.
Throw me the idol. No time.
Give me the whip!
Adios, senor.